2020 has been a hectic year, and the Trojans added to the craziness with an unreal comeback on Saturday, a 28-27 win over ASU. And we're going to talk all about it here on Sports Scene, the final episode of the semester. I'm joined by Brooke Rohde and Eli Kleinman. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. Let's jump right into it. Do you view Saturday's game as a positive or a negative for USC?
Look, I'm just going to start out just by saying this. USC did not quit. The 57 minutes through the game, it was pretty rough for them, but the last 3 minutes is when it counted the most. Slovis came up big in the fourth quarter, hit a huge pass to Drake London. I think it was positive for them. They showed poise, they showed patience. I think USC really needed that win, obviously, to stay in contention for the Pac-12 playoffs. So I think it was a positive for the Trojans.
The only positive that came from that game was the fact that they got a win and they got Arizona State back to the state of Arizona and out of California. There was not much else positive with that game. I mean, it took a 4th and 13 tip from Amon-Ra St. Brown to Brew McCoy for a touchdown to even get them back in the game. Then it took an onside kick and then a miraculous catch by Drake London in the end zone for USC. I'm not so sure there was a lot of good to take away from that game, but a win is a win, and now they have control likely of the Pac-12 South. So that's really all there is to take away from that game on the positive side.
Look, a win is a win, though. I think that's building confidence for the Trojans. I think as for the Trojans, you need to go through those hardships. You need to go through those tough patches, and for their first game, yeah, they're coming off some rust. They haven't played in over 10 months, but did they give up? They didn't. They fought through the whole game, and they came back, inched their way back into the game through an amazing onside kick by Parker Lewis, who, by the way, went 4 for 4, came up clutch, game-winning point. I think that the Trojans really showed that they are someone to work with for the season.
Yeah, I don't even know if you could say they won that game, in all honesty. Like, if we think about what actually went down, 4.5 minutes to go, right? They get a tip in the back of the end zone on 4th and 11. USC runs that play 10 times in a row. They probably don't even get a tip. I mean, the chances of that are unreal. Then Parker Lewis talked about this morning, he had never kicked an onside kick in a live football game. Ever. And the fact that USC recovers, I mean, what are the odds? So you think, okay, USC recovers, they got lucky on the tip and on the play in the back of the end zone, or on the onside, and then a throw to Drake London in which he catches the ball and admits in an interview he was so surprised he caught the football, he didn't know what to do, so he wasn't sure how to celebrate. Those are 3 plays that I don't think happen again ever. And if we replay that game for the Trojans in the last 4.5 minutes, I mean, you won, but did you really win, or did you just get really lucky? I don't know.
I mean, it has to be luck. We can't call an onside kick skill. There is no skill to recovering an onside kick. You need someone to drop the football in an onside kick in order to recover. And Arizona State did just that. But that throw to the back of the end zone, let's not forget, that was on 4th and 9. If that's incomplete, the game is over. And the throw that Brew McCoy caught to even make the game a ball game again was 4th and 13. The USC escaped by the narrowest of margins. It was not pretty. A win is a win, but there was not any style points to that win. And honestly, it's a cause for concern going forward if they continue to play that way.
Yeah, I mean, when ESPN gives you a 0.2% chance to win a football game, I think you have to have some luck to pull one out.
It's also luck, but they still did it. You guys can't say that they didn't win. A win is a win. So I think for them being in the Pac-12 South, I think a win over Arizona State really puts them ahead. They just need to get through Utah, but I think they're in contention with Oregon.
We need to look at what USC's goals are for this season. A lot of fans have playoff aspirations. They cannot play that way again all season if they want to have any chance at making the playoff. That was an ugly win. And with only 7 games total on their schedule, including the conference championship game, they are going to have to win the rest of their games by blowing teams out. And that probably includes absolutely destroying Oregon if they're undefeated in a conference championship game. So a win's a win, but we have to look at where USC wants to get this season. And the way they played on Saturday is not going to get them there.
Yeah, Eli, I think what's going to help USC, honestly, as much as winning those next 5 games, is making sure Arizona State wins their next 5 games, because that's going to make this game seem all that more impressive. Arizona State goes 2-3 in the next 5 weeks, then you're like, wow, USC really got away with a fluke, and they haven't faced anybody better down the rest of the stretch. I mean, we also got to talk about, like, the question is, do we view this as a positive or negative, right? 550 yards of total offense, and you had 14 points through the first 57 minutes. How does that happen? You turn the ball over 4 times in Arizona State territory. I mean, if it was ugly on both sides of the football. Jaden Daniels was the leading rusher with 111 yards, and 2 running backs for Arizona State who had not had a single Division I snap ran for 80-plus yards against a USC defense that was supposed to be one of the best in all of the Pac-12. I just don't like those numbers there. Nothing. I don't see much positive other than you got lucky. That was the positive. Luck was on your side at 9 a.m.
Yeah. No, and also you mentioned the 3 fumbles, the 1 interception. They got stuffed on 4th and 1 twice. Both times were in Arizona State territory. You can't expect to win a game when you have 2 turnover on downs and 4 turnovers. That is exactly how you lose a football game, and yet somehow USC prevailed, which is why winning was a positive thing, because they had no place to win that game. That game was wrapped up, that game was over, and yet somehow miraculously they won it.
I think it's a stepping stone for them, though. First game, rusty. I think that it was a learning experience for the Trojans. I think coming into next week against Arizona, I think that they'll have a little bit under control. We need to hold on to the ball more. We can't have unnecessary fouls. The 4th and 9 on the last quarter, that was just ridiculous. But Keen Slovis threw a bullet pass to Drake London when he was on double coverage, and he still caught the ball. And then they made the extra point and won. And then on defense, our Elijah Griffin and Chris Steele was able to hold them on 4th and 10, and we stuffed the Sun Devils. So,
okay, let's go back to that 4th and 10 really quick. ASU runs a play, and then the referees say, wait, we're going to review the play before that play. I've never seen that before. How does that happen? How do we review a play after another play already happened? Again, the luck was a little like, what's going on here? And Clay Elton, I agree with you. He's going to come out and he's going to say what a head coach should say. You know, good football teams find ways to win tough games. Of course, like that's
right.
What you're going to say. You want to control the narrative. But like, you didn't play like a good football team. I mean, I'm not sure what really happened. ASU should have won that game through and through. They were the better team from the get-go. And USC, I think, got away lucky. They got away lucky. That's what happened.
You can't count on another team giving you back the football in the way Arizona State did continuously throughout that football game. USC made way too many mistakes, and they can clean it up. This is not something that will I would expect it to not continue going into this next week. But if we're just looking at that one game, week 1 against Arizona State, that was not good enough. That does not cut it for where USC wants to get this season.
Look, I think USC's got a lot to work on. I think they've got 5-6 games left in the season. They've got their big game against Oregon. I think if they just go back to the drawing board, they figure it out in practice, they're able to hold on to the ball, and we're able to get our defense under control and not give away those unnecessary turnovers. I think USC is a team to be reckoned with and not to underestimate them at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely have a lot of work to do. I think this game against Arizona is going to be a big telltale for where they really are. Because as we talked about, it's one game, right? It's a very small sample size. It was raining. We had a thunder delay. It was at 9 a.m. Like the circumstances for what happened were a little weird. But so is the game itself. Let's transition a little bit, guys. Let's get into the different sides of the ball. In terms of offense coordinator Graham Harrell and defensive coordinator Todd Orlando, what did you think about USC's coaching through the game?
I personally was very disappointed by the defense. Yes, they only gave up 27 points, but I'm not sure how good Arizona State's offense will be. We will see over the next 5 weeks if they are one of the better offenses in the conference or not. But USC gave up 17-yard touchdown, 55-yard touchdown, and a 25-yard touchdown. Those are big plays. And Arizona State converted on 43% of their third downs. There's no way that is partially coaching. The amount of times Jaden Daniels escaped and ran for a first down on third down was just embarrassing because Everyone knew he was going to run. He was not passing the ball well. So what is he going to do? He's going to use his legs, and USC didn't have anything to protect against that.
Yeah, I think Clay Helton is a bit to blame for this one. We haven't created a physical and aggressive defensive line. We got pushed around. We gave up 250 yards. But I do have to say, we only held Jaden Daniels to 134 passing yards. We stuffed him on pass routes, our secondary with Elijah Griffin and Chris Steele. The man-to-man coverage was unbelievable in my opinion. So I think there's definitely good places that our defense did well, but our DL just needs to really try and work on that and just not get completely just run over by the offense.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Brooke on this one. I think, this is a defensive scheme that was put in on a short notice with 4 weeks, right? You don't have a lot of time to put your system in. And you hold Jaden Daniels 11 for 23, only threw the ball 23 times, 1 touchdown. His QBR was better than Keaton's by 0.3, and he only threw for 134 yards. Like, he really didn't do much throwing the football. In terms of that secondary, I think USC secondary did a terrific job. Chris Steele, Elijah Griffin on the edge, didn't really allow big plays. Now you have to remember Frank Darby left the game early, so he wasn't really a factor. But the secondary for USC, I think, was a big positive, and it will allow Todd Orlando to do more with his linebackers, which he's also a linebackers coach as well as the defensive coordinator. But we'll see. I mean, I think there were definitely bright spots on that side of the football.
But that's my problem with it. You know that Jaden Daniels didn't pass the ball well all day. So when you get to 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, even longer than 3rd and 10, you know he's going to look to run because that's what he does. And so when you blitz everybody, you just leave holes open all over the middle of the field for him to scramble and pick up the first down. He had like a 40-yard run on 3rd and 11. I mean, that's unacceptable. And by the end of the game, everyone knew he was going to look to run because that's what he'd been doing all game. And yet Todd Orlando didn't change his scheme. He didn't have a spy there to protect against the run. And so while the defense certainly has room to improve, and I'm not going to blame it all on Todd Orlando, there was some poor decisions by the defensive players on the field. You have to look at the scheme he provided to stop Jaden Daniels, and it just wasn't a very successful one.
Yeah, but I would argue that the Daniels has been really, really good in the past with those deep balls, right? So you look at like 3rd down and 11. Daniels was 8th best in the country on throws of 40 yards or more coming into this ball game in 2019. So you're going to drop into deep coverage, and that's going to exploit you underneath. I think USC schemed for that deep ball, and when Darby went out, ASU said, all right, we're just going to run the football, and that's where they got caught. And when you don't have that time to prepare, when you don't have a bunch of time to implement that defensive scheme, that's where things can go sideways.
But isn't it on coaches to adjust?
It is. Yeah, I agree. You're right. But at the same time, I think USC, given the circumstances, probably would have been more prepared.
Yeah, I think ASU, their only chance was to run the ball. I think Jaden Daniels kind of figured out halfway through the game is that he couldn't rely on his receivers to go man-to-man coverage against Griffin and Steele because Griffin and Steele were all over them the whole entire game. So that's why we had to get Jaden Daniels out of the pocket. We had to get him scrambling and rushing. And yes, our defensive lineman couldn't catch him because he's got the wheels and he's got the speed. But the thing is, that's not going to work every single play. So he wasn't able to use his receivers at all. And I think that was a big win for the defense. But we really do need to work on trying to get him out of the pocket more.
Let's shift to the offensive side of the ball real quick because we're talking a lot about this defense. I mean, 14 points through 57 minutes, guys. That's kind of unacceptable if you're an offense that a lot of people said this is going to be one of the best in all of college football. And here's their first 57 minutes, and they got 2 touchdowns, both running the football.
I think our run game has to be improved a lot. I noticed that no Trojan running back had more than 60 rushing yards on Saturday. I think that's unacceptable, honestly. Stephen Carr, and he ran well. He had a couple good runs, but there was the fumble on the goal line. That was really painful to watch. But I think that the Trojans really need to improve their run game, and we need to get Keenan Christian in there. Like I said last. Go ahead.
I have a message for USC fans. It would be great to improve the run game, but here's the truth: their offensive system is not set up for a run game. They run the air raid offense, which means the offensive linemen are taught how to pass protect. Pass protecting and run blocking are 2 different things, which is why USC was almost incapable of picking up 4th and 1 multiple times. They could not pick it up. They got stuffed at the line of scrimmage because the offensive linemen don't know how to push forward and open up holes for the running game. They're used to passing. So USC is going to have to find different ways to use the passing game to pick up short yardage situations, because I just don't see this running game improving to the point where you can rely on it to pick up the short first downs that you need.
Yeah, Eli, it kind of to that point, from something we haven't really talked about is all those fourth down attempts. I mean, 8 for USC. It seemed like every time it was fourth down, even if they're in field goal range, it was let's try to go for it. What were your thoughts on Clay Helton's being uber aggressive on fourth down?
I don't actually have a problem with being aggressive. I actually think it's better to be aggressive. I'd rather, if USC's offense is supposed to be the best part of the team, then you have to rely on it to win the game. But going off that, you need to find the most successful ways to pick up fourth and short. And what we learned on Saturday was that running the football is not going to be the way to do it. You're going to have to use screens and slants and short passes, because that's what the air raid system is. That is the system they've chosen to run, and so that is what they have to use.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to disagree with you there, because while it probably analytically, right? It probably makes a ton of sense. You go for it on fourth down, because if you miss it twice, but the third time you get a touchdown, then like you're looking at a plus in terms of your points. But there's this thing called momentum, right? And if so we go down there and you're in field goal range and you go for it on fourth down and ASU stops you, all the momentum shifts to the ASU side. If you drive down the field, you kick a field goal, you come to the sideline, you're like, hey guys, good drive. We got 3 points on the board. Let's keep the momentum rolling. But when you continually go for it on fourth down, all 4 of those fourth down stops are huge momentum swings for the Sun Devils. And when you come in as an underdog, as ASU did, that's big when you're able to get stops on fourth down and give the ball to your offense. I just think there has to be taken into consideration the feel for this offense, because when it's clicking, as we saw in those last 3.5 minutes, it can be really, really good. But when you're unable to build any sort of momentum because it's touchdown or bust on the offensive end, I just think it's really hard for Keaton Slovis and Graham Harrell to find some sort of rhythm.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that, Carla. I think the fourth down stuffs were unfortunate for our USC offense. I think we need to make use of our wide receivers more. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown and Tyler Vaughns, they played well. The fumble by Vaughns was unfortunate, but I think if we're able to get them more in the game, and they looked really dangerous in the last couple minutes of the game. So if we're able to transition that into the entire game or even a couple quarters, I think that's just going to be anything but helpful for the Trojans.
The one time I disagreed with going for it on fourth down was when they were down by 10. They should have kicked the field goal. That would have made it a 7-point game. That made absolutely no sense. That was on Clay Helton. Besides that, I think the coaching problems were more on the coordinators. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not like the play calls from Graham Harrell or Todd Orlando. I think if they clean it up, if they find plays that can pick up fourth and shorts and can stop opponents' offenses on third and longs, this team will be really good. But we did not see that very often on Saturday. So it is a cause for concern on the play calling side, which is, again, on the coordinators.
Yeah, I think one thing also to note, Eli, to your point, is this idea that their 2 touchdowns at the end of the game were pure. I mean, a great play by Drake London and then a lucky tip by Amon-Ra St. Brown. It wasn't necessarily like we were like, oh, wow, that's a great play call. Look how open that guy is. Also, I think one thing that we have to notice here is Keaton Slovis with 11 checkdowns during the game, and guys like Tyler Vaughns had 1 reception through the first half. He did not take a lot of shots downfield, wasn't really aggressive. I think Graham's got to drop some more plays for Slovis to be aggressive downfield, because as we saw last year, the Trojans play well when they hit the long ball.
Yeah, I think we just got to incorporate more guys into our offense. I don't know. I think we left Keenan Christian out. I think he should have gotten more reps. He's really dangerous on the ball when it comes to finding space and finding those pockets. So I think as for the run game, the Trojans really need to incorporate that more. I know, Eli, you said that we have an air raid offense, but even just having a couple of plays is just going to be important. So I'm looking forward to next week and seeing how our offense can improve.
Yeah, let's start talking about next week, because I know, Brooke, you have a steaming hot take. Steaming hot. Give it to us.
All right, buckle up. I think next week the USC defense is going to be able to shut out the Arizona Wildcats on Saturday. I think that this is possible because the Trojans in the past, year's matchup. Last year we won against 41-14. Through the third quarter, they hadn't even scored. We've been the better team since 2001. We haven't lost since 2001. I think with the practices this week, making our choosing our mistakes, I think that the Trojans can come out, surprise everybody. They're an unexpected team, and I think that we're able to do shutout.
Eli, I'll let you go first.
I'm sorry. It just took me a second because, like, processing that, and after what I watched on Saturday, there is no chance that's possible. There is no way. You saw, I brought up the stats earlier. They gave up 43% third down conversion percentage. That is unacceptable. That is almost like, compared to last season, that would be in like the top 25 in the country. And then going off that, then besides third downs, giving up a 55-yard touchdown, a 25-yard touchdown, and a 17-yard touchdown. These are all big plays. USC gave up explosive plays last week. I'm not saying that Arizona will stay competitive because I think USC will win and I think USC will blow them out.
I think with the momentum, though, I think there's the Arizona. If we'll get momentum from Arizona or momentum from the USC offense, I think that's going to be super dangerous. Arizona hasn't had any success against Trojans pretty much ever. I think as for the Trojans, we just need to really get going. Last year, I think when Khalil Tate was the quarterback, we sacked him, I think, 6 times. That's a lot for the defense. So if we can get our defense rolling, our offense rolling, if we can get the special teams going, if we just get momentum, I think that the Trojans are going to be super dangerous.
Yeah, no. I don't think that's going to happen at all. You're talking about an offense in University of Arizona. We got to look at how they schematically work, right? This is the fastest offense in the Pac-12. ASU like kind of huddled, as Todd Orlando called it, like a sugar huddle. U of A doesn't huddle. They don't know what that is. They go ultra fast. So that's going to cause a lot of problems on the defensive end for USC, as we saw the sugar huddle cause a lot of problems last week. And then also, SC allowed nearly 80 yards from 2 running backs who had never touched a Division I football in their lives. And they ran for 80 yards and mowed over that USC defense. I mean, Rashad White looked like he should have been all Pac-12 on Saturday, and he was playing JUCO at Mount San Antonio a year ago. It was absolutely ridiculous. I just see no way that this USC
Carlo,
defense...
let me help you out with that as well. The defensive line could barely get pressure on Jaden Daniels all game. They don't really substitute on that defensive line. They don't have any depth. You talk about a sugar huddle going to absolutely no huddle. The defense is going to be out of breath halfway through the first quarter, and there's no replacements to come back and help them out. The Arizona quarterback is going to be sitting in the pocket and able to just pick apart USC's defense at times. I don't think that USC is going to give up a ton of points, but there will be moments where he will just pick apart USC's defense. Arizona will be able to move the football, and they will move it down the field and score.
I think you guys are forgetting, though, that last week Arizona got their opener canceled. They haven't played for 9 to 10 months. They could be looking like the USC team we saw this week. They could be rusty. They could be having bad fumbles. They could lose the ball. They could be making unnecessary fouls and turnovers. I don't think that we should be banking that Arizona is just going to be coming out here and walking all over the Trojans. I think that the Trojans have a big chance of really doing that.
I feel like that aids University of Arizona because USC is not able to scout them. So as a defense, like we talked about with ASU, USC scouted for the long ball against Jaden Daniels. What did he do? He burned him with his legs, ran for 111 yards. USC has no scout on the University of Arizona. So they might come in and plan, but as we saw, they struggle with adjustments in the ASU game. They're going to struggle maybe again with adjusting against this University of Arizona team who does have – I mean, Grant Gunnell played last year against the Trojans, but all last year, U of A was kind of flipping those 2 quarterbacks, and now it is the Grant Gunnell show. So I think we're going to see him be a lot more comfortable, and with no tape on this offense, I think it's going to really aid U of A.
And just, to add, USC, we talk about Arizona potentially having turnover problems because of this being their first game. USC had turnover problems on Saturday, and if they can't correct that, I believe that it will improve. But if USC continues to have turnover problems, it's going to be quite easy for teams to score because if you turn over the ball on your own 25-yard line, the Arizona would already be in scoring range. So I think we really need to look at it and understand that USC, they will be improved. I don't think they're going to be clicking on all cylinders, which means there's still going to be mistakes on both offense and defense, and that'll give Arizona opportunities to score.
Look, I'm just going to say this. It's 2020. This year is unexpected. We're online for school. We're not at USC, so who knows? Anything could happen. I'm not saying that USC is going to come. I mean, they're going to come out and completely dominate, I believe, but I'm saying don't give up hope on the Trojans. I think that with their offense, with their defense, with the right coordinators, I think that something can really happen, something big.
Yeah, I just think USC is going to have to score a lot of points to win a lot of games this year if they continue to play like they did against ASU. We talked about the turnovers. Grant Gunnell hasn't thrown a pick in his last 82 passing attempts, so he's not really turnover prone. Gary Brightwell, their lead running back, is a Doak Walker watch list kind of guy, which is for the best running back in all of college football. He's legit. He's not at a JUCO last year. We're looking at a team outside of the quarterback position that has a lot more experience in college football in the University of Arizona, and I think that's going to really help them. I mean, this U of A team has wide receiver targets that are legit. I mean, no disrespect to ASU, but outside of Frank Darby, Johnny Wilson dropped like 4 passes on Saturday. I don't know what was going on over there, but there's some actual weapons on this University of Arizona team. I think a shutout is just very unlikely. I would imagine, I wouldn't be surprised if they scored on their opening drive, to be honest.
And I think we just need to keep in mind, like Carlo said, USC is an offensive team. They are offense first. That is what is expected to carry them this season. So there is going to be less of a reliance on the defense. And now I think the defense will make plays. I think USC will win. I think that seems to be a clear consensus. Arizona is probably not as good of a team as Arizona State, but I don't think there can be high expectations from that defense, especially not after what we saw on Saturday, because I'm not sure how great of a team offense Arizona State was, so I'm not sure I don't believe there should be high expectations for USC's defense against Arizona's offense.
Well, you said it right there. USC is an offensive team. If we can get out early, if we can score early and gain that momentum, I think that if we just run away with the game early and if we're able to hold them, we're able to do 3 and outs on defense, no 4th down conversions for Arizona, I think we could run away with the game.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are in disagreement with whether USC is going to dominate this game from the get-go, but I think this high-tempo offense, Brooke, is a huge problem for the Trojans. I mean, Eli talked about it. They didn't substitute at all on the defensive line. It was the same 3 guys throughout the whole game, and when you're snapping the ball, running downfield, calling out the play from the sideline, and snapping it before the play clock hits 20, you're going to get tired. The Trojans, and the way the Trojans offense works, this air raid offense, plays totally in favor of keeping their own defense on the field. The Trojans like to score quick, right? They like to move the ball downfield. They're not a big running team. So that defense is going to have to play a lot more than probably they usually would, just because the Trojans aren't a team known to possess the football for a lot of the game. And it's going to be interesting. We're only a game 2 usually on a regular year. If we're looking at November 14th, we're not saying, I don't know about fatigue. But guys aren't fully in shape yet because that's the kind of year it's been.
Yeah, no, it's truly a still wait and see what USC looks like, because they've played one team. We don't know how good Arizona State's going to be. We really don't know how good USC is going to be. They had high expectations. People already saying that, this USC team is not what they expected, but we just don't know. We have to wait and see. I think that USC will improve from week 1 to week 2, and I think both sides of the balls will make plays. I think the win will be relatively easy against Arizona, but I would be surprised if it was a shutout.
Look, regardless, I'm just super excited for another week of football. I think even seeing USC football in 2020 is a treat for all of us. So I'm excited for the offense to take advantage of the Wildcats. I'm excited to see the defense get some interceptions and hold Grant Grinnell to less than 150 yards of passing. So I'm super excited for next weekend.
Well, it sure will be an interesting game. That's it for us here on Sports Scene, the final episode of the fall 2020 semester. It's been a weird one. We've all been in different places, but so happy you could join us. You can follow along for our football coverage at Annenberg Media Sports on social media. For Carlo Jimenez, Brooke Rohde, and Eli Kleiman, thanks so much for tuning in, and have a great break.